officer is under somebody, judged by the ethics of his or her job. Therefore, the House of Rep is taking shadow. I'm sorry for that language. Their move to arrest MFL is political. The commitment is shame. Now, fuel is sold at 400 per litre, kerosene is sold at 850 per litre, yet members of the House of Rep get a black eye. After lecturers, 8 months' salary has gone into clean air. The speaker did a kangaroo negotiation that didn't make any impact. Please let them leave MFL alone. Let him do his job. Thank you for having me. Anthony E.
All right, many thanks for joining us, Parliamentarian Anthony. Of course, the naira redesign. Yesterday, when the CBN announced the deadline extension, I was in a tricycle heading somewhere, and I heard conversation that just made me realize that sometimes it is very important for the government to put its feet down and just decide without giving an extension of deadline. Some persons were actually hurrying off to the bank to go deposit the old naira note. Return back, they just turned back on their journey, and they're like, oh, we knew they were going to extend the deadline after their initial gaga, so eventually they have extended the deadline. And this is the kind of attitude that has continually plagued us as Nigerians. We as the people do things in line with the stipulated time frame. Extension of the PVCs, and now extension, you will still find people sleeping in their houses 48 hours to the time of closure before people now begin to not allowed to do this and do that. How do we continue with these kinds of attitude, and what will it take us as a people?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I'm not so surprised. Nigerians are always the problems, of Nigerians, and it has always been the case over the years. When we spoke to the INEC public officer last week, I could hear him reiterating the fact that most of the claims people have made about inability to secure or get their PVCs are largely, untrue. Because you go on ground and you find that it's people who are largely culpable for not being able to get their PVCs, either because of misinformation or mere procrastination about, taking action to doing most of these things. It's rather worrying, but it has also shown that the government is quite concerned about people, which is why INEC, on the other hand, it's the second time they're extending the deadline from 22nd to 29th first and now to February 5th. That's the deadline. But again, we have to reiterate, the extension for PVC collection is only for the local government level. So if you're having any hope of going to, the INEC office to, collect your PVCs, then you might not be so lucky. It's only for the local government levels. But about the naira circulation, it's a worry. You would have thought that with the extension, people would be very eager now to reform their notes as quickly as possible. But just as the instance you've just cited, you found that these persons have now gone back to their respective homes instead of completing the journey they embarked on, which was going to the bank to refund those notes. And that means constant circulation of the old notes would continue. And now a lot of persons have asked questions, aside from the fact that maybe to the layman, they do not really understand the economic theatrics involved in changing or making these new notes, aside from the word that's on the streets that the government is perhaps targeting corrupt politicians who stash away cash with these big denominations. Well, that may be true, but there are also other underlying factors that would help with the change or the swap of the notes. Some persons have equally said the notes are not enough in circulation. The CBN should print more. Otherwise, we continue to have these concerns. Yeah, that could be true, but it's a give and take thing. Let's assume that you have 100 million naira in your account, and let's say of that amount you had 20 million naira in your home. So that means you have 80 million naira in your bank account. Now the 80 million naira there is automatically converted to the new notes in the event that you want to withdraw them. So the CBN is simply saying, return the 20% of cash you have at home, the old notes, back to your banks, and then you get the new ones. But people haven't done this. So you don't expect the CBN to pump in fresh notes into the economy when the old ones are still stashed in your homes. It's simple logic, for crying out loud, Nigerians. Please return your old notes. Yes, we all equally have concerns and rumors about some banks involved in negative and nefarious vices with most corrupt politicians, we're told, who are stashing away this cash. Let's leave that to the government to handle. I've listened to Godwin Emefiele several times. It's not like he doesn't know most of these intricacies are going on. He actually does. And which is why I'm quoting him. He said those who want to fight him should come out. He actually knows what's going on. Mr. President equally knows what's going on. And that's why he said 3 months was more than enough for anyone to return old notes. I mean, what's so big a responsibility as simply taking your money to the bank? It's still your money. But if you're expecting the government to just pump in new notes into the system without returning those old ones to allow that balance, the essence of creating the new 200, 500 and 1,000 naira notes in the first place was to guard against inflation. Now, how can you deal with inflation when there's no balance of money in the economy? So it's a simple logic. I think Nigerians should take, ample time with the opportunity that's been provided by the extension. And just to clarify, returning old notes, the deadline is February 10 for the circulation and the use of the old notes, but Nigerians can still continue returning the old notes up until February 17. So you have till February 17 to return the old notes, but as of February 10, they cease to become legal tenders.
All right, at this point in time, we'll take our first recess. When we come back, more discussion and conversations on the floor of the House. Please stay with us.
Many thanks for staying tuned. Good morning. This is the news update at 9. House of Representatives ad hoc committee on redesign of 3 naira note rejects 10 days extension granted by the Central Bank of Nigeria for swap of old notes. New NYC Director General YD Ahmed to take over office today. The federal government of Nigeria loses 106.8 million over Abuja, Kaduna and Warri railway suspension. Akwa Ibom State Governor approves participation of state in state action on business enabling reforms. PDP governorship candidate in Akwa Ibom State, Pastor Umo Eno, says his administration would build inclusive and industrialized economy if elected. On the foreign scene, UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak sacks Conservative Party chair Namdim over tax revelations. In sport, Lobi Stars scaled Bayelsa United's hurdle with 3-0 win in Nigerian Professional Football League. And that's the news updates for this hour. I am Dara Udoma.
So welcome aboard, fly anywhere in the world. Catch every glimpse of the clear blue skies. Take a seat of comfort and soar the wings of action. Fly everywhere, let's get you there. Get up-to-date information and insight on topics in and around the aviation industry and stand a chance to win exclusive gifts on this 30 minutes program every Thursday from 4 p.m. on Touchdown Thursday with Imo Air here on Planet 101.1 FM Uyo. This program is proudly powered by Imo Air, the new experience.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people. But there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTimes DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Before, when I call my guy, before I talk, my man, how far? I go here.
You have less than 1 minute for your call.
Auto waiting, but with Airtel double, now steady relating.
My guy, house, our area, our everything.
Stay connected for longer with the Airtel double plan that gives you 70 minutes talk time plus 3 gigabytes data for just 1,000 naira. Dial *141#. Select my area now. Airtel, the smartphone network.
They are the geniuses, the legends. They are the conquerors of our world, achieving feats larger than life, and leaving us motivating peers to excel in all our chosen paths like they did before us. People in History, your 1-hour detailed documentary on the life and times of great heroes and heroines.
The Bible says there's pleasure in sin for a season.
Andy Jean, who later became the Peach.
Dr. Alex Ekweme is outstandingly brilliant. He's very patriotic and very loyal.
Comes your way every Mondays, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. You can listen to any past episode of People in History just by logging on to our website, www.planet101fm.ng, and click on our podcast to listen to the past episodes. People in History, exclusive to Planet 101.1 FM. Attention, please. This is a boarding call for all intending passengers on Ibom Air Flight 101.1, departing for Planet FM. Flight time is Thursday, 4 p.m. Please proceed to check-in.
To come on board this flight, tune in to Planet 101.1 FM every Thursday at 4 p.m. to be a part of the program Touchdown Thursday with Ibom Air. This half-hour program is highly interactive and informative, with phone-in sessions and live stream on our social media pages. Fun trivia games with loads of exciting prizes to be won. Touchdown Thursday with Ibom Air is a public enlightenment program designed to curb misinformation about Ibom Air's modus operandi and receive customers' feedback. This program is in partnership with TAF Media Group. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard. Cabin crew, you may now commence your in-flight duties.
You fit to buy your phone today and you go pay later. iPhones today, both new ones and not used ones. Samsung phones today, Tecno, Itel, Oppo, Infinix, Redmi, Nokia, and other latest phones and accessories. Music box, laptop, liquid screen guard for to protect your phone from breakage. They repair phones, so both software and hardware with the home delivery services within Uyo Divine Ugo Communication. For anything we concern phones and accessories, you must have rejoined to confirm Divine Ugo Communication. Them day for number 1 Ikote Bini Road, opposite Ibom Plaza, Uyo Akwa Ibom State, or make you call 080-680-93884 or 090-923-12971. Our shop they open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. from Monday go reach Saturday.
The 101.1 FM. And just a quick reminder of the motions we have on plenary today. The first of which is reactions to the first ever gubernatorial debate held in Akwa Ibom State. Well, yesterday's debate was devoid of the two major parties whose candidates, Pastor Imo Eno of the PDP and Imo Akpan of the APC, were conspicuously missing. Second motion, Nigerians' reactions to the February 10th new naira swap deadline extension by the CBN. And equally, INEC extends PVC's collection deadline in all local government offices to February 5th. We've been getting your reactions on this via our studio lines, but feel free to reach out to us on Facebook as well, where we hope to get in your comments. Let's quickly get through some comments before we come back to the floor of plenary for more discussion. Udemega Ebu says, Mr. Speaker and the House Leader, it's a good news that the deadline for the return of old currency has been extended. But if the new note is not in circulation and bank ATMs still giving out old notes, then the extension will not yield any result. On the governorship debate, any governorship candidates who didn't participate in that debate, either by Zoom or physically, doesn't worth or deserve the votes of any Akwa Ibomite. Thank you. Also, Francis Ndamani says, good morning, Mr. Speaker. The extension of old naira notes swapped to 10 days is a good development. However, the CBN should kindly ensure full circulation of the new notes as soon as possible. On the extension of deadline for PVC collection to a week, it's a welcome development. I'm therefore calling on all those who have not collected their PVCs to do so on or before the new deadline. And finally, Noya Idiom says, good morning, parliamentarians. For President Buhari and the CBN governor to extend the deadline to February 10 is highly commendable. But please, the grace period may not be enough if banks do not stop issuing out old notes to customers. The CBN needs to embark on massive printing of the new redesigned naira note. And equally says, for those governorship candidates who did not attend the NUJ debate yesterday, I think such attitude, the absence of those candidates may not speak well about them before the electorate, Mr. Speaker.
Well, that is the general mindset of Akwa Ibom right now, and we're going to kickstart that particular conversation with the APC spokesperson for the governorship campaign organization of Akan Udofia, in the person of barrister Imo Akpan, who just joined us in the studio. Good morning and welcome to the plenary, barrister.
That's fair. Okay, so I needed to get the protocol correct. I needed to get the protocol correctly. You know, it's my pleasure to be here.
All right, good to have you here. So let's start with your principal, Imo Akpan Udofia. Yesterday, we were told by the leadership of the NUJ political committee that at the 11th hour, he sent in a letter notifying the committee that he's not going to be able to attend because of ill health. Let's start from there.
Yeah, it's true. First of all, we apologize that we lost that opportunity to talk to Akwa Ibom people through the instrumentality of that debate platform organized by the NUJ. We have been reaching out to Akwa Ibom people, to the populace and to the electorate via social media, via one-on-one interpersonal contact. We've been making a lot of visits. We've gone to basically all the local government areas in the state. We've consulted very widely, and we've done quite a lot to send the message of shared prosperity abroad for Akwa Ibom people to understand the options available as we move into the 2023 elections in March. Now, it would have been the best if we had also extended, that endeavor using the instrumentality of the debate of yesterday to further re-echo the things we've been saying, and then maybe demonstrate in more practical terms, especially standing side by side with other governorship candidates who also would have had one or two things to pass across to Akwa Ibom people. But we lost that opportunity. The governorship candidate just got into town about 2 days ago in preparation for the presidential campaign rally, which is going to be taking place today at the Gospel Akwa Ibom International Stadium. And shortly upon arrival, he was ambushed by a throng of supporters. He was coming into the state for the first time after the Court of Appeal judgment, which was delivered on the 20th, which affirmed his candidacy of the party and also affirmed his membership of the party. And through that, he was taken through almost all the major streets of Akwa Ibom State, talking to people and just saying thank you for your support and prayers and steadfastness. And I also understand that on that same day, the leadership of the NUJ debate committee also met with him and extracted a personal commitment that he was going to be at the debates yesterday. But shortly thereafter, he went slightly under the weather, developed a hoarse voice, and that wouldn't have been in the best interest of the listenership to have my principal and the governorship candidate of the APC communicate in a tone that is more or less guttural. And he sends his apologies of the fact that he will not be able to make it on health grounds. Now, we don't make excuses. We give reasons which are cogent enough and which are also plausible. As a lawyer, one of the greatest exceptions you have for failure to doing anything in court is on in respect to your health grounds. If you have a matter in court today and you send in a letter to say, well, my lord, I'm sorry, I can't make it to court on account of ill health. That is of paramount importance because, of course, you must be alive before you are able to do any other thing. So every other thing is secondary. It is health first. It is the health that is that is wealth. It is the health that will propel the shared prosperity we're talking about. So any reason given based on health grounds must be taken very seriously. And I'm sure that Imo Akpan Udofia would always desire to reach out to Akwa Ibom. He's going to do that in the next couple of days. He's going to be doing that. Maybe there are people who didn't have the opportunity of hearing him on that platform yesterday. I also understand that that platform may not have been the most pervasive. It couldn't have been the most comprehensive opportunity for everybody to key in and listen to. For instance, I didn't listen to because I was also engaged in some mobilization activities in my local government area in Ikono, where even reception is quite a difficult thing. But we're going to have the opportunity of going out there and then reaching out to Akwa Ibom people. The best gauge for what a governorship candidate will do in the election may not necessarily be a debate of that nature. But that is an opportunity we lost, and we apologize for it on health grounds.
Well, okay, it's good that the APC has apologized for the inability of your candidate to turn up for that debate, but there were arising questions, for the fact that he was absent, not just him. The candidate of the PDP was equally absent as well. There are many who have questioned whether or not Imo Akpan Udofia's absence was premised on the fact that an hour before he actually notified the NUJ committee of his purported absence, the PDP candidate had equally sent a message first saying he would not equally turn up. Was this a reaction to the fact that Pastor Imo Eno, who happens to be another leading frontline candidate for the election, was going to be absent? Did that in any way also, inform about Imo Udofia's decision not to turn up, as is the word on the street?
Not at all. Not at all. Our reason, if we have given a reason on health grounds, that is independent and that is very personal. It has nothing to do with the governorship candidate of the PDP or the governorship candidate of any other political party. Even if we were the only ones who were going to be on that debate floor and the situation was right, yes, we would have been there. We don't need to look over our shoulders. As far as this contestation is concerned, this election is concerned, we are head and shoulders above every other candidate in any other political party. And I say this with every sense of seriousness.
The reasons I factor that in is, as you've just confirmed, it was purely on health grounds.
That's right.
But we equally know the candidate of the Young Progressives Party, Abasi Eyo, was recently granted bail on a sick grounds, on health grounds rather. Right. But he still joined up with yesterday's debate, albeit via Zoom. So even in his health condition, he found time to address the Akwa Ibom people.
Well, that is fine. We don't share health statuses. It is not a common thing. The way I feel, having come through the bad road leading to Ibiakura, where your studio is located, may not be the way some other person will feel. In fact, there is somebody who you say, could you make it to the studio? You say, look, just because you have no road leading to your place. And I didn't know it was that bad, because on getting here today, I noticed that some equipment had resumed. And I asked the fellow who took me on the motorcycle, I said, they've resumed because the rains have come, or they have been here before now? Because I was here a few days ago and I didn't see that. And you see, it takes the reasons why this campaign is about the credibility of the individuals involved. You can't have a situation where for 7 years, one story has been told, one narrative has been bandied about the fixing of this road, and it's not been done. And just less than 40 days to the elections, you find people running around the place with headpans and shovels and making movement very difficult. So we don't share health conditions. Imo Akpan has said he was under the weather, and we take him for what it is, because that is the truth. He has no reason whatsoever to be mendacious. There's no point about it.
So what other avenue are you proffering to ensure that he eventually gets to address Akwa Ibom people? Because as we know it, as much as you've said, there has been private meetings with supporters and campaign groups and all of that, Akwa Ibom might still want to hear from the gubernatorial candidates of your party. So what other platforms are you proffering to address this?
Akwa Ibom have always heard from Imo Akpan. Akwa Ibom know him.
Well, knowing him is different to knowing his blueprints.
The blueprint is either out there in the public space.
Well, we need to hear him say it, so we can make sure that it's coming from him.
He's going to be out there in the public space. He's going to be saying it. He has always been saying it. And I think those who have had that direct contact with him know that Imo Akpan is not just educated, but he's highly educated. All right, highly educated. In a state, especially where we have said, look, we need people who have international emails. That is an international email. We need people who said they went to business schools. That is a graduate of Harvard Business School. We need people who said they have pedigrees in so and so fields. That is a man listed as number 5 somewhere by Forbes. In the
Let me proceed there. One of the things that Akwa Ibomites are saying, and some of the Akwa Ibomites have already dropped comments to that effect, is a big question. I'd like to put it directly to you. The health grounds that Imo Akpan Udofia gave as an excuse for not being present at the gubernatorial debate of yesterday will affect him being at the presidential rally today.
No. In fact, in fairness to Akwa Ibom people, having stomped through the streets of Uyo the day before, he was advised to take a rest. And that is why he said, look, even when he met with the group, he said, look, you'd have me. But on expert advice, it's like, look, you have another function in a few days' time, you need to take a rest. You can't be going out there in this condition for 2-3 days at a stretch. You'd break down. And that was the need for that. That was the reason for that. So you're not going to have Imo Akpan Udofia in the stadium today stomping around the place. He's going to be delivered or given the governorship flag as the candidate of the party, and he'll resume his seat. He would have 1 or 2 comments to make to address Akwa Ibom people or to address party faithful at that occasion. But then his failure or inability to attend the debate yesterday was basically because of his health, and that is something we accede to. That is something we are humble enough to apologize to Akwa Ibom people about. We are not afraid of anything. In fact, we are ready to surmount every obstacle.
It still goes back to the initial question I asked. Yes. What other platform then would we get to hear from me? I'll give you an instance.
The debate is an infinitesimal portion. It's an infinitesimal fraction of avenues of candidates reaching out to political parties. There are many governorship candidates in Akwa Ibom State, and you had just a few of them, handful, attending that debate yesterday.
Oh, they were the leading ones at that.
They are the leading ones. And you see, whether Imo Akpan Udofia attends a debate or not, what the average Akwa Ibom person knows is the fact that that is the leading governorship candidate or that's the leading contender for the governorship.
Okay, without meaning to cut too short, I was trying to land on a particular point. We equally didn't have Pastor Moino at the debate yesterday, but he seemed to have sufficed his absence by holding a town hall series a day before, and he felt that was a better opportunity to inundate the public about what he wants to do, because he felt the debate will not afford him as much opportunity. At least we have an excuse that suffices, as much as the Akwa Ibomites are not satisfied that he too did not turn up. But in your case, simply telling us that yes, he's going to speak to the people is not just enough.
Well, I'm not going to hold and brief for Pastor Moino. You know, he can hold as many town hall meetings as he wants. Rightly, you said it's an excuse. We are not giving excuses. We have only given a reason for why we were not able to make it to that function. We are going to have town halls in all the local government areas of Akwa Ibom State. We're going to have campaign stopovers, multiple campaign stopovers in all the local government areas in Akwa Ibom State before the elections. We're going to have interactive sessions with every segment and section of society, all interest groups. I emphasize all interest groups. We're going to interface with them. We're going to have them hear us. We're going to take their questions. We're going to explain in practical terms our blueprint. What we're talking about is realism. It's not politics. We're engaging Akwa Ibom people. We can't go back to where we are now in Akwa Ibom State. It's not possible, God forbid. So we reach out to Akwa Ibom State. It's not just through the instrumentality or the platform of a debate. We're going to be engaging directly with the student group, the academic community, artisans, because we need to let them understand that this is our plan for you. And we have a pedigree of having implemented similar plans before, and it has worked. We're talking about shared prosperity. That is exactly our message to Akwa Ibom people. All right. And like I said, there are going to be several opportunities we're going to exploit and create to pass those messages across.
Now, barrister, there's been another question I'd like to give directly at you. Now, the big questions Akwa Ibomites are asking is it possible that Akan Udofia and the PDP representative talking about Pastor Moino are shying away from a town hall meeting organized, or rather a debate organized by the NUJ and other rights organization and civil organization, non-governmental organization, and of course the socio-cultural organization, even Akwa Ibomites in diaspora partnering with the NUJ to organize an event of that magnitude, just to want a controlled environment where they and decide what things they can take from the people?
Well, that is not true. That would be fallacious. We are open. I am here answering questions, and I really don't care even if you ask the questions in Hebrew. I'll answer them. If you ask in Hausa, I'll answer them. If you ask in vernacular, I'll answer them. Our blueprint is clear and lucid, and we are ready to sell it to Akwa Ibom people.
Maybe defending that side by side alongside candidates who are vying for the same office with you would have done a whole lot of good, because we heard from 3 or 4 other candidates.
The reason we have given is there are candidates who cannot preach messages of prosperity in Akwa Ibom State. There are people who can't talk about prosperity in Akwa Ibom State. You must look at their record. There are people who have not been able to lift anybody even out of their families in Akwa Ibom State. There are people who have not even done as individuals in this state, yet governors. You people who have talked about prosperity for Akwa Ibom people, who have talked about wealth creation for Akwa Ibom people, who have talked about an economic blueprint for Akwa Ibom people. We have not seen that. And it is my view that what we have seen in the last 7 or so years has been more of a deliberate government policy in our people. And I have many reasons for saying that. We're talking about prosperity. $1 million concept is the impromptu of Imo Akpan. I've seen billboards where people talk about continuity and they talk about wealth and then they add prosperity. And I wonder, what prosperity are we talking about?
Okay.
What prosperity are we talking about? What are we doing with?
Yeah, barrister, let's go. said, and we quite agree, that health concerns were the reasons why Imo Akpan Imo Udofia could not come for the debate. So let's assume...
And that's a cardinal reason, health concerns.
So let's assume that TAF Media Group decides to organize a debate tomorrow, inviting the PDP candidates, Pastor Imo Eno and Imo Akpan Imo Udofia. Will he attend?
When you speak of tomorrow, you speak futuristically. You're not speaking of tomorrow as Tuesday.
Well, in line with what we're looking forward to as far as the elections are concerned.
That's what I'm saying. You're speaking futuristically.
That's
not in terms of Tuesday.
So would he agree to appear for the
I see to that. No. You see, when you...
Well, because you both shied away. We're not from this as well. You're both culpable.
When you tie down the arguments, when you tie down the issues and limit it to an issue of APC and PDP.
Because you're the two leading parties in the debate, and you both decided not to come for the debate.
It would also present you as insensitive to Akwa Ibom people. It is not about PDP and APC.
Well, right now it is about...
No, it's not about APC and PDP, because of course you are even saying that probably Imo Eno, the day before, because he went for a town hall meeting, that may be an excuse for why he said, well, I'm not going for the debate.
Well, that would be the excuse.
We are saying we had a reason on health grounds for not being at that event yesterday, and we would use every opportunity of communicating with Akwa Ibom. It mustn't be a debate between APC and PDP. We are not shying away from that. We are saying, as far as the 2023 governorship election in Akwa Ibom State is concerned, there is a candidate that stands holders above the candidates. Well, that of the PDP is
it's very clear that at this point now this is consistent with the fact that these are the parties Nigeria government of Emmanuel. So the parties themselves the reason why we have this conversation, but we are going to take a short recess here. When we the PDP and from these deliberations, please stay with us. We'll be right back.
BBC News. The US Secretary of State Antony Blinken is due to arrive in Jerusalem in the coming hours at the time of sharply increased violence between Israelis and Palestinians. Mr. Blinken says the immediate priority is to restore calm. The NATO chief, Jens Stoltenberg, has urged South Korea to increase military support to Ukraine during a trip to Seoul. A BBC correspondent says the South Korean government has so far refused to supply weapons for fear of antagonizing Russia, a trading partner. The former British Prime Minister Boris Johnson said he felt Vladimir Putin had personally threatened him ahead of the invasion of Ukraine last year. He said that after he returned from a visit to Kiev, the Russian president said it would only take a minute to hurt him with a missile. Police in South Africa are searching for two gunmen who opened fire at a birthday party, killing 8 people. The attack took place in Eastern Cape province on Sunday evening. The motive is unclear. A leading member of India's main opposition Congress party, Rahul Gandhi, is marking the completion of a 3,500-kilometre march across the country. Mr. Gandhi said his aim was to unite India. Shares in parts of the Adani business empire in India have risen after the firm angrily rejected allegations of false accounting and stock market manipulation. Adani Enterprises are up by about 3% on Monday. The Peruvian president, Dina Boluarte, says she will propose a change to the constitution to allow a general election in October unless politicians agree to hold them this year. Anti-government protesters have demonstrated for the past 7 weeks. And Barrett Strong, who co-wrote some of the biggest hits of the Motown record label, has died. He was 81. His credits include I Heard It Through the Grapevine, Just My Imagination, and Papa Was a Rolling Stone. The Motown founder, Barry Gordy, said his songs were revolutionary and captured the spirit of the times. BBC News.
The world in 2 minutes.
Before, when I call my guy, before I talk, my man, how far? I go here.
You have less than 1 minute for your call.
Auto waiting. But with Edet double, now steady relating.
My guy, house, our area, our everything.
Stay connected for longer with the Airtel Double plan that gives you 70 minutes talk time plus 3 gigabytes data for just 1,000 naira. Dial *141#. Select my area now. Airtel, the smartphone network.
Dear listener, we exist because you're always there, and without you, there is no us. We appreciate your sustained loyalty and remain committed to creating content tailored to meet your everyday media needs. And on this note, starting this January, you will be noticing some changes in our programming. Planet Radio 101.1 FM Uyo, revolving around you.
Live on Planet Radio 101.1 FM Uyo, and it's about that time where we'll try to have a conversation via the phone line with Honorable Chris Abasi Eyo, who happens to be the spokesperson for the PDP governorship campaign organization in Akwa Ibom State. And one of the reasons we like to have this conversation with him is just to ascertain and ask him questions bordering on why his principal was absent at yesterday's debate organized by the NUJ. Hello, good morning. Welcome to the floor of the plenary. Hello, good morning. All right, welcome to the floor of the plenary. How are you this morning, sir? All right. So, this morning, we'd like to ask, yesterday there was an NUJ debate for governorship candidates in Akwa Ibom State, and 2 candidates, the leading political... Can you hear me? Can you hear me? So 2 candidates, your candidate, Pastor Imo Eno and Akan Udofia, were absent at yesterday's governorship debate organized by the NUJ. We'll have to find out what was absent during the debate.
Well, Dr. Chris, is it a question of the PDP actually placing or giving priority to the town hall series you had on Saturday as opposed to attending the debate we had yesterday? When you talk about scheduling, you were inundated about this debate long before yesterday. So did you not plan to attend any? When you're talking about scheduling now, it looks like something else just came up, or the invitation to attend the debate was so sudden. I mean, you should have planned for this long before yesterday.
Let me get this clear. You committee reached out to Pastor Umo, but there was communication between him and the organization towards that regards, which is what you seem to have had conflicting items fixed for the same day, which is what. Well, they're not going to make it to the debate as was expected. Now, it seems like the PDP system will not tell during political debate. We saw in the Film Foundation, we did not have the of the PDP or the candidate of the PDP show up, and now in different of apartment of Nigeria through the platform, the stations. So would the right that is not monitored, that is not doctored for all the candidates to answer very critical questions that Akwa Ibomites desire to get answers to. Would you say this is not a deliberate attempt by the PDP, just like we had during the time of His Excellency Governor Udemi Manjol, who was kind of from the debate that was held during that time, to actually replace the same thing?
Have this debate again on a day and time which wouldn't conflict with our scheduled meetings. We would be there.
Okay, so I'll ask you one last question that we've asked also the spokesperson for Akan Udofia, who is here with us live in the studio. Should there be another opportunity where a media organization or the NUJ and some of that body maybe organize another debate? Will the PDP present its candidate for that debate for the Akwa Ibom people?
Very sure. I must say yes, but the arrangement will have to be made by the campaign organization, which has the itinerary for our investment. Certainly, if this were the case, this conflict wouldn't have arisen. That's the truth.
Dr. Chris, quickly before we equally let you go, I'd also like to know if the decision, as much as you've apologized for your candidate not being able to turn up yesterday, was this equally informed? Was your decision informed by, the recent happenings affecting the People's Democratic Party with respect to the Federal High Court's ruling that announced Honorable Michael Ayong as the candidate of the PDP? Did it lead to any kind of confusion about the fact that the Akwa Ibomites were asking which of these two gentlemen would, represent the PDP in yesterday's debate? Did that occur in your minds?
Candidatures or candidacies in any of the parties is time-bound if it has to do with the primaries. But only criminal cases can be heard in court. I'm not a lawyer. So Michael will go to court within 15 days after the primaries, that which are elapsed sometimes in the first 2 weeks of June, and then the court in August, and by that, on 8 days is by law for such cases to be dismissed, judged. So on the 3rd of December, cases such as Michael has come up with had expired in the face of the Nigerian law on the 3rd of December. So it is not recognized. That is a forwarding of the place order. Because it doesn't arise. So that cases being held now is with criminal, not pre-election matters or primary.
All right, I'd like to appreciate you at this point for. All right, okay, I'd like to appreciate you for coming on the floor of the House. Many thanks for being there today. We'll still reach out to you for more updates.
Thank you very much.
All right, spokesperson for the PDP. Right about now, the phone lines are buzzing, and it's about time we get to allow parliamentarians the opportunity to join the conversation this morning. And of course, tell us what they feel about the respective motions that are on the floor of the House. Hello, good morning. Welcome to the plenary. Please turn down the volume of your radio set.
Good morning, Madam.
Turn down the volume of your radio set, please. All right, welcome. Go ahead.
First of all, my name is Edet and I'm coming from local government.
Go ahead.
Yeah, first of all, I was not happy because my governorship candidate was not there on the debate. I'm not happy at all. I think that there must be a problem within the PDP, and then we have to solve that problem, first of all. I think that if the committee will make another day for Akan Udofia and Pastor Umo Eno, I think it would be nice, because we have to hear from Umo Eno and we have to hear from Akan Udofia. So please, if they can be a way to set the debate again, because we have to hear from Pastor Umo Eno and we have to hear from Akan Udofia. The two major parties in Akwa Ibom State, we have to hear from them.
All right, thank you very much. Hello, good morning. Welcome to the plenary. All right, go ahead. Your name and where you're calling from.
Professor Mr. Speaker, I think if I want to stick my man, I don't believe in all those debates because it's not the same debate we have. I remember in the past, we had debate. Somebody came that during the debate and told Akwa Ibom that he would build 31 industries in each of in Akwa Ibom State, one in each of the local. I think all these jobs he left without building even a single one. All this is just to entice the masses, speak good things and promise them all these things. We don't believe in politicians that can dance even in the market or anywhere just to entice the masses and get votes. We don't believe in that. So whether they will attend the debate and forward and say what they will do, they will not do. The moment they turn to they enter the office, they will do their mind. Even in the PDP, we know it's extension of a state team because it's a content cabinet. They will only act and speak and act the script that is written by the state government to them. So I don't believe in all this branding. All politicians, all prophets, they would just do what they want to do. When they enter is another thing.
Wrap up.
I don't believe in all those debates.
All right, thank you very much. Hello, good morning. Welcome to the plenary. Good morning, parliamentarian.
Let me first of all greet the spokesperson to the PDP, Right Honorable Chris Abasi Eyo. So I'm here.
He's not live with us. We join him via the phone.
He's listening.
All right, go ahead.
Good morning, barrister Imo Akpan.
Good morning.
Good morning to the House Leader. Let me start by saying, I want to ask NUJ if they have the credibility to host the people governors. Look at now, first scarcity, insecurity, up till now, NUJ could not unravel to the people which they were meant to do. They are going to governorship debates. I think, Mr. Speaker, the people parliament organize a debate. All the governorship candidates will be there. Because they know the people will speak their mind. The fact even has disappointed us.
So if they fail to attend the meeting by the two governors. It's an act of God. It's not their making, it's an act of God.
All right, first thing, parliamentarian, I'm trying to wrap my mind around the statement you just made that the NUJ has failed to unravel to Nigerians the problems surrounding insecurity and fuel scarcity.
Yes, Nigerian problem addressed to tell us what causes this thing. Are you getting just listen? Governor Central Bank, Godwin Mesele, now talk about Oboki SS. Oboki SS is supposed to be the duty of the journalist to unravel that. Are you getting me? So they are calling the people. What kind of debate are they coming to conduct? So they should come and apologize to the people. The people can organize a debate for their governors.
All right, many thanks for joining us this morning.
I find that very funny and interesting when it talks about the role the NUJ has to play. The NUJ is a body or a conglomerate of diverse media houses, media platforms, and journalists operating in Nigeria. That's why it's called the Nigerian Union of Journalists. And it was the Akwa Ibom State chapter that organized this debate because it concerns us here in Akwa Ibom State. As far as following up on policies of governments and how they're implemented and how they eventually affect people, well, that's the role each of the media houses who have come together to form the NUJ as a body have independently gone about in following up as far as their duties are concerned. So with due respect to the last caller, I think you misplaced your argument about the role that the NUJ has to play in things like this. They were not out of their way for organizing the debate we saw yesterday. They simply took the bull by the horn because others actually shied away from doing so. And I think they should be thoroughly commended for what they did.
All right, we'll just take a few more calls before we call it a wrap on the floor of the House. Hello, good morning. Welcome to the plenary.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Mr. Speaker, good morning. Morning, the question. Mr. Speaker, concerning the debate that was going on yesterday, I want to commend all the governorship candidates that made it possible to be in that debate. Well, apart from people were expecting a whole lot from all of them, but we come to see that it is clear that the People's Democratic Party and the All Progressive Congress, they did not show up. On the case of Akan Udofia, if Akan Udofia is claiming that he was not fit to be in that debate, but I think he was in the close to the private stadium to inspect the finishing touches of the stadium against today's rally. So, on that Akan Udofia, I think that is not doing well for private people because we were expecting to hear from him, Mr. Speaker. Then, on the case of Pastor Mono, I believe that Pastor Mono would have, there's no amount of business or engagement that would have stopped him not to be in that debate, to tell the Akwa Ibom people what he's going to do for us and what he has done. What he has done, that is a blueprint that we are expecting from them. We don't want to hear any story. So currently now, Akwa Ibom people have discovered who they are going to vote from 2023. That is my submission.
All right, many thanks for joining us. Hello, good morning. Welcome to the plenary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. God bless you. Good morning to all the guests in the House. Mr. Speaker, on Friday on a Monday morning from Akwa Ibom. Mr. Speaker, I want to say concerning the debate. This debate has been fixed since last year. The announcement has been going on and on. So we Akwa Ibom, we don't expect to hear any excuses from any of the candidates. Mr. Speaker, this is why I want to conclude that it's true for what Senator China has said that APC has no candidate, even the PDP, because of the confusion they are having. That is why you don't see them appearing, and they don't have anything to offer Akwa Ibom. So, as the last caller has said, Mr. Speaker, Akwa Ibom know who to vote come 2023. Thank you. God bless you, please.
All right, many thanks for joining us. We'll come back to the floor of the House for the House leader to just say his final comment in just about 30 seconds before being excused.
Yes, interesting reactions from parliamentarians, and we expected those robust engagements in the aftermath of what we saw yesterday. But I tend to agree with both candidates. I think they both have underlying reasons to have actually stayed away from yesterday's debate. But whether it was enough, or it will be enough to, assuage the feelings of Akwa Ibomites who were expecting to see these two candidates. I mean, we all knew those who would be there, or those we expected to be there live. And long before then, it was already announced that the likes of Abasi Albert would be joining via Zoom for obvious reasons. And he kept up to his word. He was a part of that debate virtually. And I think people enjoyed it and people liked what they saw yesterday. So the icing on the cake for me would have been the appearance of the PDP and the APC candidates. Unfortunately, we didn't have that. But we're throwing the challenge open. Maybe the People's Parliament, under the auspices of TAF Media, would love to host the PDP and the APC candidates for another showdown ahead of the polls. I don't know if Barrister Imo Akpan would do us a favor by taking our messages, to the authorities. We'd definitely love them to oblige us. But thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
All right, many thanks, House Leader, and you're very well excused. Let me come back to you, Barrister Imo Akpan. Now, let's talk about, just briefly, about the APC campaign rally happening in Akwa Ibom State today. What should Akwa Ibom people be expecting from your presidential candidate?
Well, it's been confirmed that the presidential candidate will be around. Plans are in top gear, and he would come to campaign to Akwa Ibom people and solicit their support and votes as we go into the presidential elections on the 25th of February. But just before I conclude on that point, let me just backtrack a bit on the issue of the NUJ debate. I didn't share the view of the caller who felt that the NUJ is not living up to its billing. In fact, I salute the initiative by the NUJ in doing this, because I remember also that there was another debate earlier organized by, I think, Akwa Ibom Elders or something like that.
Akwa Ibom Elders Forum, and then we had the Clement Foundation.
No, Akwa Ibom Elders Forum, headed by former governor. Former governor
Architect
Atta, yes. And definitely, I'm not sure many people attended. I'm not also sure it got a lot of media traction, because a lot of people felt, I also felt, that if Obon Atta was the one who lifted Pastor Imo Eno's hands and presented him as a candidate of the PDP, I don't know if that body would be seen to have been a neutral body and well positioned to organize that kind of debate. But then back to the presidential campaigns of the APC. So Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu will be pushing across the agenda of a renewed hope for Nigeria. It's been a tall order, given where we are coming from as a nation. And he will be telling his own personal story. I've heard him a lot of times say, well, this is me talking about presidency and the 2023 elections going forward. And I think that this is the best opportunity we have to convey that message once again to the hearing of Akwa Ibom people. And I'm sure Akwa Ibom people will be ready to receive and welcome him. We're very hospitable people, and I think if plans are in top gear to ensure that we have a huge free function.
Well, we look forward to hearing from Ahmed Bola Tinubu, the APC presidential candidate, and the Akwa Ibomites are very much eager, and we'll definitely get to have a whole lot of conversations after the presidential campaign starting today. I'd like to thank you on behalf of the House leader and myself for being on the floor of the House. Also extend the same gratitude to the spokesperson of the PDP who joined us via the phone line, and to you parliamentarians for being part of today's success story. It's been a wonderful time, and of course, I'd like to remind us, please do for another extension of the deadline for the PVC collection, because you're not going to have it. So if you've not yet gotten your PVC, go to the local government level and get your PVC. Keep it in preparation for the general elections. For those of us who still think there will be a deadline for the new naira, well, it's been extended as we prayed and asked for, but there's no hope that there's going to be another extension. Run away from that Nigerian mindset that says, oh, after the initial gragra, the government is going to extend yet another time, because it's not going to happen. Let's all be very conscious of the time that God has entrusted to us. Let's be responsible citizens of Akwa Ibom State, Nigeria, and let's make our vote count, because Whatever we decide, we are going to suffer the consequences, either good or bad. My name is Francis Edet, and as the Speaker, I declare today's plenary session officially closed. Do have a lovely week ahead. God bless you. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and God bless Akwa Ibom State.